Hey, good evening. We're in chapter 11 of 1 Samuel here for our Old Testament studies. We've been following the first king of Israel, Saul, who was a reluctant king. So far, he's looking like he's doing okay. In tonight's chapter, he's doing okay, but he gets corrupted later on, as often happens, and we'll really be looking at Saul in a different light than we are right now. But so far, he's just getting started out, and he's still humble and doing the right thing. So chapter 11 begins with then Nahash the Ammonite. Key word: the Ammonites have come. They've come to the borders of Israel, and they've camped out their whole army down there. They came up and encamped against Jabesh-gilead, and all the men of Jabesh said to Nahash, "Make a covenant with us, and we'll serve you." In other words, they camped near the men of Jabesh-gilead, the Israelites, and they looked out there and they were scared. They looked at that Ammonite army and they said, "What are we going to do?" Somebody said, "Let's go out and see if we can make a deal with them." So they went out and said, "Make a covenant with us, and we'll be your servants." And Nahash, the Ammonite, I guess he was the captain of the Ammonite army, he answered them and he said, "Okay, on this condition." It's going to be a conditional covenant. "You can be my servants and you'll serve me, but first of all, here's the condition. I'll make a covenant with you that I may thrust out your right eyes, all of you, and lay it for a reproach upon all Israel. I want to humiliate your whole nation," because it didn't go away back then. People hate Israel, don't they? And the elders of Jabesh said unto him, now let's think about that for a week. "Give us 7 days respite, that we may send messengers to all the coast of Israel, and then, if there be no man to save us, we'll come out to meet you. You can pluck out our right eyes, I guess." Then came the messengers to Gibeah of Saul. The messengers of Gibeah, they came to King Saul. They told the tidings in the ears of the people. And all the people lifted up their voices and wept. "The Ammonites have come." And behold, Saul came after the herd out of the field. Now, he's still a king, but he's out here farming, right? He come out of the field behind the herd, and Saul said, "What's going on? What aileth the people that they weep?" And they told him the tidings of the men of Jabesh. They told him what's going on. And the Spirit of God came upon Saul when he heard those tidings, and his anger was kindled greatly. And see, just because somebody gets angry, don't mean the Spirit of God. It means God's anger and God's Spirit's upon him. And he took a yoke of oxen. Saul did. He cut them in pieces. He hewed them in pieces and sent them throughout all the land, all the coast of Israel, by the hands of messengers. He took a yoke of oxen and he cut them up in little pieces. They gave them to a bunch of mailmen and said, "You deliver these all over the country." And said, "Whoever comes not forth after Saul and after Samuel," which, by the way, Saul's new. He's still identifying himself with their national hero, the prophet Samuel. "Whoever don't come after me and Samuel will not be, this will be done to his oxen." Said, it's an enlistment technique. He said, "I mean business," and said, "Here's what they said. If you don't come and sign up for the military, we're going to do this to your oxen." And the fear of the Lord fell on all the people, and they came out with one consent. He got all kinds of young men come out to fight. And they all enlisted in the Israeli army here. And when he numbered them in Bezek, the children of Israel were 300,000. And the men of Judah, 30,000. So it's all at once he's got a military of 330,000 fighting men. You can do a lot with that. And they said to the messengers that came, "Thus shall you say to the men of Jabesh-gilead." You go back and tell them that tomorrow, by that time the sun be hot. I've watched enough Westerns. They said, by tomorrow at high noon, you'll have help. And the messengers came and showed it to the men of Jabesh, and they were glad. They said, "We're going to get to keep our eye, and we're not going to have to serve them Ammonites, because help's on the way by high noon tomorrow." Therefore the men of Jabesh said, "Tomorrow we'll come." Now, I think this is they're sending the answer back to the Ammonites, to the Nahash and the Ammonite army. They said, "Tomorrow we'll come out to you, and you can do to us all that seems good. We'll come out and see you tomorrow, and get your tools ready. You can cut out our right eyes. You can do whatever seems good to you." They didn't tell them we got an army of 330,000 men coming with us. And it was so on the morrow, verse 11, that Saul put the people in 3 companies, typical way of fighting back then, divide the army into 3 different big groups, organize them. And they came into the midst of the host of the morning watch, and before daylight, and they slew the Ammonites until the heat of the day. And it came to pass that they which remained were scattered, so that 2 of them were not left together. They killed most of them, and there wasn't enough left to even be partners. They just the rest of them run off by themselves. And the people said to Samuel, "Who is this?" They've got a great victory now, so everybody's going to get behind old King Saul, right? So the people come to the prophet Samuel and said, "Who is this that said, 'Shall Saul reign over us?'" See, the people had been kind of divided. Some of them didn't want Saul to be their king, but now they said, "Where are they at? Bring them out, and we'll put them to death because they voted the wrong way." And Saul, he did right again, see. He stepped in and he said, "No," said, "there'll not be a man put to death this day. For today the Lord's wrought salvation in Israel." Well, I thought Saul sent out that decree with the oxen and the postmasters and all these people. And didn't he do it? Didn't the army do it? Yes. But Saul recognized what I hope you and I can recognize today, that God works like that. He worked through the organization and through the leadership and through the army. And Saul recognized that God did that. Some old soldiers said, "Well, I was out there fighting." "Yeah, but God was using you." So he said, "Ain't nobody going to die." I said, "We're going to give God praise because he did this." Verse 14. Then said Samuel to the people, "Come and let us go to Gilgal," which I believe at this point in the history of Israel, Gilgal was their capital, "and renew the kingdom there." And all the people went to Gilgal, and there they made Saul king before the Lord in Gilgal. And there they sacrificed sacrifices of peace offerings before the Lord. And they worshipped, and they had a big eating meeting too. And there Saul and all the men of Israel, they rejoiced greatly. Now, we'll close with this. It's 15 short verses today. But remember the things that happened in the Old Testament, all this blood and guts and war and armies and all that kind of stuff that was literal history, but it was teaching spiritual truths to us who live in the New Testament age. And I can close as a Christian preacher and say, you know what? God defeated the enemy with an army of one man, and his name was Jesus. And that army of one man, through him, God has wrought salvation this day, and it's available to you if you'll claim it. See you next week.